Hello, everybody, and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Wednesday, the 28th of May, I believe it is. Glad to see you. Today, I am speaking to you again with a devotion from our Daily Bread from 2022, June 27th. Again, sort of hanging out there at the 3 year later thing. This one is taken, the scripture is taken from 2 Kings, chapter 4, verses 1 to 7. This little blip is verse 2. Elisha replied to her, "How can I help you? Tell me, what do you have in your house?" And this reflection is called God's provision. 3-year-old Buddy and his mom went to church each week to help unload groceries from the food ministry truck. When Buddy overheard his mom telling his grandmother that the delivery truck broke down, he said, "Oh no, how will they do food ministry?" His mom explained that the church would have to raise money to buy a new truck. Buddy smiled. "I have money," he said. Leaving the room, he returned with a plastic jar decorated with colorful stickers and filled with coins, which amounted to a little over $38. Though Buddy didn't have much, God combined his sacrificial offering with gifts from others to provide a new refrigerated truck so that the church could continue serving their community. A small amount offered generously is always more than enough when placed in God's hands. In 2 Kings chapter 4, a poor widow asked the prophet Elisha for financial assistance. He told her to take inventory of her own resources, reach out to her neighbors for help, then follow his instructions, verses 1 to 4. In a miraculous display of provision, God used the widow's small amount of oil to fill all the jars she collected from her neighbors, verses 5 and 6. Elisha told her, "Sell the oil and pay your debts. You and your sons can live on what is left," verse 7. When we focus on what we don't have, we risk missing out on watching God do great things with what we do have. The prayer here is, "Faithful provider, please help me to be mindful and grateful as I faithfully manage and share all you've given me." A couple questions here. When has God multiplied your resources in a miraculous way? When has God used you to combine your resources with the gifts of others to meet a bigger need in your community? Good questions. I am reminded of hearing the story of Midrash, of this story about Elisha going and speaking to the woman, and she found she always had enough oil. But she said, if God's really there, maybe you could speak to God, because I'm a short woman and this jar is big and I have to reach down to the very bottom to get that oil. Maybe God could fill it up enough so I can scrape it off the top. The thing is, we do that, don't we? We recognize that we have been blessed, and instead of being grateful for the blessings we do have, we tend to be a little bit spiteful about them. Like, well, yeah, it's great that I've got enough money to pay my rent, but wouldn't it be great if I had enough money to have a mortgage instead, to own a house instead of renting someone else? Or, no, it's wonderful that I've got enough money to buy myself groceries, but wouldn't it be nice if I could go out for dinner every night? We focus on the wrong things. We really need to focus on the incredible gifts that we have around us. And those gifts, I witness them all the time. Our camp needs pillows, and I've mentioned that before. Pillows for teenage-sized butts to make the pews not so hard, so they can enjoy chapel a bit more. I don't know how that's possible, because they enjoy chapel immensely, and they sing like oh my heavens, like they sing like crazy, and they bounce around and hug each other. But they said they want some pillows, so we're collecting pillows. And it has been overwhelming to see people, for something so simple. We asked for pillows, and we've received cash donations, and we've received pillow donations. Some people are going out and buying the material and asking other people to make the pillows for them to donate to us, which in itself is an incredible gift, because for that person who doesn't have the material to donate the pillow, but they do have the time and the ability to make the pillow, both people have been able to participate in this gift toward the camp. I'm watching this as well at the cathedral here at St. Matthew's in Brandon. We're pretty not well off financially. We found ourselves pretty strapped, pretty tight, with lots of things. The building is old and falling apart, and all kinds of things are happening. But our new dean has got ideas about how we can serve the community, that we can become a community hub where we could have soup and a sandwich. Cheap and cheerful, he calls it, cheap and cheerful. Things that won't cost us a lot of money to do, but will bring an incredible amount of cheer to other people. But also bigger ideas that we could, make for fundraisers for the cathedral and make it more feasible to maintain the building and the beautiful organ that we have and all of those things. But he's not going at it saying we don't have enough. He's saying, yeah, we're tight. We don't have enough. We have work to do to keep the doors open. But let's not focus on that. Let's focus on why we need to keep those doors open. We need to have those doors open so that the elderly in our community can come in and have a soup and sandwich. We need to keep the doors open so that we can have an after-school homework program for kids who maybe are what we used to call latchkey kids, or kids who just need to not go home and play video games, but have people help them with their homework. For community groups who want to have a meeting, who want to gather to do work together to make our community a better place. All of these things that can happen, which really is what church is about, building community, serving Christ by serving other people, is happening because our dean is not looking at this and saying, we don't have enough. He's saying, we do. God will provide. We have to do the work. We have to be willing to do the hard work of using the resources God has given us to find new resources that God will give us. And that's incredible how that works. I have witnessed over and over and over in my life a number of times, in my life in particular, but mostly in my ministry, where it has appeared that we just really had not enough to go. We didn't have the resources we need. But when we said something, all of a sudden they sort of climbed out of the woodwork. We were going to put in my very first church, first parish, I was in St. Stephen's in Stratford. We needed to put in a lift because it was a completely inaccessible church, with a church that was almost completely older people who needed accessibility. And I think I probably told some of you this story before, but we needed to put in a lift, and so we got working on it. We had to raise $100,000, and they determined they were going to do that in a year. Oh, ye of little faith. I did not think that they could do it, but I said, okay, fill your boots. If you can, you can, and if not, if we haven't made good headway by the end of this year, then we abandoned that idea. Well, within no time, we found out that there was a gentleman who was going to give us a gift of half of what we needed, $50,000. Other contingencies, there's lots of strings attached, but it was a good gift. We had somebody who made bookmarks and postcards and cards you could give out, because she had a new computer with a painting program and all kinds of cartoons and stuff, and she sold bookmarks for $5. We had those plastic containers for 35 millimeter film for cameras. They fit toonies, the $2 coin for Canadians, perfectly. You could put 20 toonies in there. There's $40 right there. We had dances and dinners at the Legion. We did, you name it, we did it. And we, make 1,000 here and 500 there and 2,000 there. And we were inching our way up. We needed 120,000 at the end of the day, but by the time we got all the specs done and the engineers and everything. And so we had the 50,000, and we were making a bit of money here and there, and we weren't quite sure how we were going to do it. And then a massive storm happened, and we ended up, long story short, with a basement filled with things you don't want a basement filled with from backed up pipes. And our insurance came in and said, well, if you're going to, you need to fix this. And when you fix it, you have to build to code, which meant that the lip into the kitchen that was like this had to be leveled off, which we were going to have to do anyway. And the bathroom, which was just a tiny little door, normal sized door, and was not accessible, had to be made fully handicapped wheelchair accessible. Even though if we didn't do the lift, there'd be no way it could be accessible. To build to code, it had to be accessible. Well, guess what? Our insurance covered all of the extras. And because people were willing to put in, like that woman who had to dig deep into her oil jar, volunteers were willing to take off the rotten wood that was there, and to pull up the carpets, and to lay down the carpet and hammer in the new wainscoting and do the painting. And sweat equity helped to bring down the cost The insurance helped to pay for part of it. And in less than a year, we had the whole thing paid off. And in a year and a half, our lift was in. And the beauty of it was that it wasn't until our lift was in, or it was on the way to being in, and people could see work from the outside being done, that we discovered that all along we had a large home beside us. A home of 5 or 6 members who all worked and lived permanently in wheelchairs. And now they were able to come into our building and worship with us and exercise and do all of their activities as well with the greater large community, because our building was now accessible, because we had faith and we were willing to put the work in, and we trusted that if we were doing what God was calling us to do and we were faithful, we'd get it done. Like little Buddy's $38. It wasn't just a need for one person, but a need for a community that was fixed. Like my church of St. Stephen's, like the church here at St. Matthew's, the work is getting done, miraculously so. And of course it's miraculous because it's God who's really doing the work. We need to remind ourselves that even though we just seem to have a little bit, when we are generous with our little bit, it changes the world. And probably the most importantly, it changes our own world. So whatever you have with your $38 or your 38 cents or your $3,800, whatever you choose to do with it, make sure that you're doing God's work and helping the community, helping other people. And you will discover it is money well spent. You'll also discover it's energy well spent, because not only does it help out there, it helps in here. Have a great day, everybody. God bless you, and I'll see you again tomorrow for Church at Home with Rachel.